there, I'm Bergen from Plytix, and welcome to your first lesson. In this lesson, we're going to dive into what you need to know about Product Information Management, or PIM. This means we're going to look at what is product information. PIM is not spreadsheets, a brief history of PIM, PIM and ERP, and finally SKUs. In our last lesson, we talked about what a PIM system is and what it can help you do. So now let's take a step back and talk about what product information really is. Here's an example. I want you to think of a product, like a t-shirt. That t-shirt can have hundreds of data points attached to it to describe what it is, how it's made, and where it's sold. These data points, what we call attributes, could be the title, the color, description, size, material, and the list goes on. Keep in mind that the average product has anywhere from 50 to 100 data points, and that's just an average. Some products even have more. So a company that sells around 1,000 products is dealing with 50,000 to 100,000 pieces of data. But for a company that sells even more products, that's even more data points. We're talking about millions of pieces of data. Now, I don't know about you, but I'd say that is a lot of data. With so much data floating around, you're probably wondering how companies organize and update their product data. And oftentimes, the answer is spreadsheets. Why a spreadsheet isn't a PIM? Okay, so we do need to give credit where credit is due. Spreadsheets are useful. Mostly everyone knows how to use them, and they're a very efficient tool to view and transform sets of data. But spreadsheets are not a database. They weren't designed to handle all of your product data, and here's why. 1. Spreadsheets will never be your single source of data. The amount of product data a company works with on average requires multiple spreadsheets. So your marketing team might work from one spreadsheet while your sales team works from another. And the information that your marketing team has might not line up with what your sales team has. And that can make things pretty messy. So do you think that multiple spreadsheets would be a single reliable place to find your product information? Probably not. Then you add on the fact that spreadsheets aren't very collaborative. So now you have an even bigger problem, especially if you have multiple team members consistently updating your product data. So if your product data lives in spreadsheets on a computer, and we're not talking about in the cloud on some platform like Google Sheets, collaboration is a nightmare. You'll have to update, save, and email your spreadsheet to your colleagues so that they can do their work. On top of that, you have so many people working on that spreadsheet that it would be difficult to know who even has the most accurate and updated version. Maybe you've implemented a naming convention to keep track of the most recent version of your spreadsheet, like product data spreadsheet version 7.42, use this version. But let's be honest, this is not the most sustainable way to run your business. Not knowing which spreadsheet is the most up-to-date could potentially mean sharing incorrect information, which would cost your company money. So, why should you use a PIM instead? Well, PIM is a real product database that gives you and your colleagues a single source of truth to access and edit information. And besides, who wants to use ridiculously named spreadsheets anyway? 2. Spreadsheets can't manage media content. Getting your products out to market requires full and complete product data. And products are more than just words and numbers. Products have images, videos, user manuals, and other media. When managing your data, you need to be able to store your media alongside your product information. And to be honest, spreadsheets just weren't made to handle your media files. The best you could do is paste a URL in a cell or manually import the thumbnail of an image. But when it comes time to share your media files with your team or even your customers through your website, you can't host those files through spreadsheets. You most likely have to keep those files in a separate location, on a hard drive in your office or on a cloud platform like Dropbox. So, once again, why should we use a PIM instead? Imagine that all of your images were linked to their products and that you could find the right media for the right products at the blink of an eye. Imagine not having to wait a long time for your gigantic spreadsheet to open. That's what a real product database can do for you. 3. Filtering and finding data in a spreadsheet is a pain. When you have hundreds or even thousands of products, being able to find your products quickly and easily is a must. But when working in a spreadsheet, you're pretty much limited to just using the keyboard command Control F, and that's about it for your product search. And let's not get started on sorting columns, especially while someone else is using the same file. With limited functionality in a spreadsheet, finding and filtering information is nearly impossible. So, for the final time, why should you use PIM instead? With a PIM, you can filter products by their data points, what we call attributes like brand or color, to find exactly what you want. You can even stack multiple filters to get as detailed as you need. A brief history of PIM. Okay, so now that we know why a PIM is essential, let's have a quick history lesson. Product information has been around for a long time. I mean, if you think about it, humans have been selling products to each other for centuries. And during most of that time, customers have had to go to brick and mortar stores to buy things. But by the mid-90s, around half the world's population was connected to the World Wide Web. The way we connected, the way we did things began to change. So naturally, businesses saw this as an opportunity to reach new customers by buying and selling online. With a new potential to connect with customers globally, the rise of e-commerce was soon to follow. And it sure did, because e-commerce transformed businesses all over the world. But as we know, with new opportunities come new challenges. Businesses were faced with the challenge of adapting their way of doing things to a new virtual world. This meant that companies needed modern technology to organize their enterprises. Most large-scale businesses already used ERP or enterprise resource planning software to coordinate business processes. So many began to add product data to their ERP systems to facilitate online sales. Because it turns out ERPs were not the best place to store product data, because in short, it's not what they were meant to do. And this led to the birth of PIM. So now, let's dig deeper into how ERP and PIM compare. PIM and ERP systems are not competitors, but rather work hand in hand to help a business run smoothly. These two systems are complementary because despite some overlap, they serve very different purposes. ERP is used to organize, bringing different areas of your business like finance, manufacturing, HR, supply chain, services, procurement, and others into a single system. A product in an ERP system contains core information like price, stock availability, and warehouse locations. All of this information allows a company to track their resources so that they can make more products to sell. But it's important to note that an ERP system isn't built to include marketing information, digital assets, or sales materials. It also doesn't contain any commercial information necessary to take your products to market. And it shouldn't. An ERP system is specialized for use in logistics, finance, and other departments that are data-heavy, not content-heavy. So, how can we use ERP and PIM together? ERP software is used in many different industries. However, manufacturing companies are particularly well suited to ERP systems. This is because various pieces of the order fulfillment process are connected, making it easier to track orders and coordinate manufacturing, warehouse, and shipping functions, especially in different locations. So basically, we can look at it like this. An ERP system is designed to help you make more products, and a PIM is designed to help you sell more products faster and better. Though it's not mandatory to have both, retailers and manufacturers that do can provide detailed and accurate product information faster and more consistently. What is the key that brings ERP and PIM together? We could say that products are born in the ERP because that is the moment that they are created and assigned a SKU. What's a SKU? A SKU stands for a stock keeping unit. This is essentially a unique code that identifies a product, like a fingerprint. Typically, a product will have the same SKU across its life cycle. A SKU follows a naming convention or a sequential code that is most likely assigned by a company's ERP. In PIM, a SKU is essential because it is the unique identifier for each of your products, and all of the data related to any product will be stored under its SKU. Normally, companies will link their ERP and PIM via an API connection. And if you don't know what that is, Don't worry, we'll dive deeper into that later on. ERPs and PIMs are able to connect thanks to SKU, sending product information from one system to another, keeping them in sync. It makes sense to use PIM and ERP together because when integrated properly, they work in tandem to automate and streamline your processes. This saves you time and money. You've done a great job on lesson 1. Now it's time for a little recap before your lesson quiz. So in our What is PIM lesson, we've learned that a PIM solution is the central source of truth for all of your product data. Spreadsheets can't do what a PIM can because they don't facilitate collaboration, they aren't made to store product media, and they definitely aren't made to filter and find data easily. Product information has been around for centuries, but with the digitalization of the world, e-commerce began to skyrocket, making it important for companies to create an online presence. PIM and ERP serve different purposes, but are the perfect complement to each other. And SKUs are the unique codes assigned to products that keep everything organized. Now it's time for you to test what you've learned. We'll see you in our next lesson about data taxonomy and attributes.